Hi, everybody. It just so happens that January is National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And I thought, what better way to bring awareness about human trafficking than to interview my own daughter, who has been involved in this movement for many years. So, Alex, what can you tell us about human trafficking and how to get rid of it?
Well, first of all, to begin talking about the issue, we have to define it. Human trafficking is modern day slavery. It is the use of force, fraud, or coercion to force another person to either provide labor or sex acts.
Oh, gosh.
And it's mostly sex trafficking. So when we talk about it, we say human trafficking, anti-trafficking, modern day slavery, but in essence, the large part of it comes from sex trafficking. And Houston, Texas, where we live and work, happens to be the top. We live, work, and we raise our children, happens to be the top city in the United States where sex trafficking occurs. It's not generally talked about. Most people don't even know the term until we bring it up and start defining it. But human trafficking is a $150 billion industry. Traffickers make $150 billion in profit,
Profits.
not
Yeah.
revenue. And we know that their profit margins are higher because they're able to take a human being, a man, woman, child, and resell, especially in sex. I've met survivors and overcomers who have been sold up to 16 times a day. And it can start from the very young age of, I've heard of women who were tiny, like 3, 4, 5. And so, yes, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, though, as it's coming to my mind, is the Oil and Gas Trafficking Awareness Group, which is what I launched in 2017. We're actually starting the movement again with an event that we'll be having Friday called Energy Empowers Freedom. If you're in the Houston area and you want to join, feel free to go register. I'll put the link in the video.
This is this Friday.
Yeah, this Friday, January 19th
19th.
at 12 o'clock. It's a free screening of The Sound of Freedom. And we're going to have overcomers there and organizations to then before and after the movie, we will have them there to educate people who want to get more involved because
Wow.
and even celebrating Martin Luther King Day the other day, talking about freedom. We're in 2024, but there are more slaves in this time period than ever in human history. And
Unbelievable.
they're estimated to be up to 40 million people trapped in modern day slavery around the world. And when I say around the world, I also mean the United States, and it happens in all 50 states.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That is so crazy. Well, that sounds like a marvelous event, Alex, because not only is that movie powerful, just that movie, but having real live human beings there who've been through it to talk about it will be amazing. So anybody that's interested, this Friday, January 19th, we'll have the link in the
posts.
comment
Yeah.
sections. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I dyed my hair red because I'm also part of a movement called Red M the Movement. We'll also link that in the video so that you guys can join as well. It's an organization started by one of my very good friends, David Reed, who happens to be a man of great influence. He's the Chief Marketing Officer and Chief Technology Officer of NOV, National Oil Well Varco. And it's a nonprofit organization that's focused on helping overcomers and survivors of human trafficking in the Houston area and beyond. So feel free to join. We can use anyone and everyone. It doesn't matter what your position is at work. If you're a wife, mother, grandmother, grandfather, father, brother, sister, whatever you may be, we want you because we know that it touches everyone's lives, especially when someone that you know and love gets in this situation. And actually, my mom and I had a very in-depth discussion about this because her next door neighbor here where she lives we did find out she was being trafficked, and that's how close it can be. You never know unless you have these conversations with people. But first, to have a conversation, you have to be educated and be made aware of the issue. And that's why I'm here, and many of my colleagues that are in this movement. So thank you, Mom, for letting me share.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, it's your vlog as well, because it's my amazing Alex. So
but it was your idea.
To you.
The whole thing was your idea.
Right.
So it's you. It's
right.
you. It's you
part
and
of.
I.
It's me and you together forever.
That's right.
So these different organizations that you're involved in, the little bit that I've learned and when I've gone to meetings with you and stuff like that, is about raising awareness. And that's one of the biggest strategies that they use, because and this is what I think, but you tell me. Human trafficking, just the name, makes you sick. And if people become aware of because pornography and prostitution, those are different words, and they don't have the same impact as human trafficking.
Yes.
So talk to me about what you think just the fact of raising awareness will do.
Well, like you said, there's other factors which we're not going to talk about right now. We can talk about it later. Maybe Mauricio, well, actually, he would never want to do this, but my husband actually worked on the anti-demand side. He worked with an organization called Demand Disruption for 7 years. They do amazing work. Again, check them out, find more about them, because in order to stop the supply, it's basic economics, supply and demand. And also, like you're talking about the word prostitution, what we talk about in the movement is prostitution is not real. That's what traffickers sell you as the idea of this great product that you're going to buy. It's not prostitution, it's the prostituted, and that's what we need to change the language around, and that's what education and awareness, and the more we talk about it, the more you learn, the more educated you are. And just like that slogan that said, knowledge is power, you have to be educated on the issue. And modern day slavery might sound like a big concept that when you think about it, oh, okay, there's 40 million people worldwide in this. It's a $150 billion industry. How do you think that they went after the war on drugs in the 80s and 90s? It was people taking steps and coming up with concrete ways to fight it. And that's how, in the United States, I don't know what president it was, but the war on drugs. Same thing with ending human trafficking.
Reagan.
The war on the crime against humanity. This is the biggest crime against humanity, and yet we're not talking about it. Especially using the term sex trafficking. Anytime that you use the word sex, people get weird. And why? Like, why?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of weird to talk about it, but
it is.
let's
it's
talk
taboo.
about it. Yeah.
It's but as soon as we bring up especially this Sound of Freedom movie, as soon as we bring it up in groups, it's amazing how many people are like, yeah, my neighbor, or down the street was a brothel and got busted, or
which happened to me. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and then one of my friends, their neighbor moved out, and they went over there just to scope it out, and there were all these stripper poles in the game room, and they were like, no wonder there were so many beautiful women coming in and out of that house next door. And so and that was in one of our affluent neighborhoods right here in Houston. And it's a really cool thing that you've linked this human trafficking with the oil and gas industry,
equipping the oil and gas industry. Empowering them, because again, no matter your role, husband, wife, grandfather, father, brother, you're an employee at the end of the day, more than likely, because in order in this country to live, you have to have a job. I mean, not just in this country, but in all countries. So if we equip and activate our workforce on this issue, especially an industry like oil and gas that's mostly male dominated, we are equipping these husbands, fathers to be heroes, then that only will take the movement further, because they go home, they tell their wives, their children, because we want to protect And that's what we're about, protecting our communities, because at the end of the day, it's a community issue.
Mm-hmm. And you've approached a lot of oil and gas companies,
Yeah.
and they've all been very amenable to listening and to, spreading the word,
Yeah.
right? And getting the word out about and educating their employees about it. Because, as you say, at the end of the day, that's what's going to change people's minds and hearts ultimately. That when you think about it and when you look at it, this is no good for anybody.
Nope. No matter if you work as a doctor, if you work at McDonald's, if you work cleaning houses, it doesn't matter where you work. It's protecting the place where we live and work. And we happen to live and work in Houston, Texas. That's the energy capital of the world. That is also the #1 city in the United States where trafficking occurs. We're also about to host the 2026 World Cup, which we know it's been proven sporting events like the Super Bowl, like the World Cup, all these major sporting events attract traffickers because, again, they and just so you know, we have to be raising awareness ahead of these events. And that's why in Houston, around that time, you're going to already start seeing like the major nonprofits, A21, Christine Cane's organization, coming in and doing their training. All of the local nonprofits here in Houston were already planning for 2026, which is in 2 years still.
Wow.
And even FIFA, they have a working group around human rights. So we know that these major organizations, like the federal, whatever FIFA stands for, the International Federation of Soccer, global, like their influence, MLS, not NHL, that's hockey, NBA, all, what is it called? The American
NFL.
Soccer, NFL,
Soccer.
or no, American football is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, these major sporting events and these major sporting companies can come together. And like I was talking to one of our close family friends, and I said, or even like you, Mom, you have 12 grandkids. Think about that. You can influence these kids' lives. You can protect them from what they don't even know is happening.
Right.
And Dad, like, you guys have such influence. There's so much you can do.
Yeah, and we want to. And so talk to us a little bit about how people can get involved in this anti-trafficking movement. What can we do? I know you were in that video that was distributed to all the truckers, to thousands
No.
of...
So that's for the energy industry in particular. It's for energy workers. So there is a video, sorry to interrupt you. There is a video that we were able to make gratefully in partnership with my company, OVS Group, and a lot of other oil and gas companies that contributed in conjunction. So it was OGTAG, the group that I helped found, in conjunction with Truckers Against Trafficking, who is an amazing nonprofit. They've trained up over, like, I think it's 1.5 million truckers. So if you're in the trucking industry, even thinking about that, like training your truckers. If you're in supply chain, training your asking your vendors to train their truckers. Walmart, H-E-B, like, we can put pressure on these companies because at the end of the day, they are going to educate and equip their drivers who are already doing a job, which is driving. You know, Amazon, think about how many places they're going and ringing the doorbell. Like you're talking about, there are these stripper poles. Okay, what if an Amazon driver rings the doorbell, sees these stripper poles, reports it? I don't know what the heck is going on there. That's strange. But anyway, so the way that we can take action is getting involved, whatever way that looks like. If you're part of the PTA, bringing it up at a PTA meeting. For example, I'm going to go to the district that I live in, the Board of Trustees, and ask them to implement within our school district a curriculum that's already been made so they don't have to invest any money.
Oh, wow.
Called Bodies Are Not Commodities, because it's going to educate children starting at the age of kindergarten through comic books about the issue. And there's so many ways that you can work through this, not just by giving your money, which is great. If you have money, give it. And actually, there's a project that I want to talk about called Dear Anybody, which is a movie project that Red M, David Reed's organization that I'm part of with the red in my hair. We're looking for donors, especially people.
Red M Mondays.
Red Monday. Yeah.
Red Monday. Yeah,
And
you'll see that
that's
on
a
social
social
media.
movement that we're starting. But the Dear Anybody movie campaign is we're looking for donors to give money for these short videos that we're going to make that will show someone being trafficked, but then what happens when anybody can step in and be the person to stop it, because honestly, this is something that happens on the one-to-one level. Like obviously one-to-one, like the video that we made that thank God has now had 20,000 people view for the energy industry. We hope it's going to spread across the industry. So not just the 20K people that have been trained now, but we'll see more and more companies adopt it, because we are starting OGTAG meetings again starting in March. So we're going to have different working groups work on that. But just thinking about ways that, and honestly, anyone who watches this video, if you contact me, I'll be more than happy to sit and strategize with you, because there's so many ways that we can end this, and it just takes creativity, courage, and then one step. And that's what we say at Redem: a small effort, big impact. Because like me, when we started OGTAG, it was one company, it was my company, OVS Group, because I had told my CEO that, hey, you know that there's a little girl who was trafficked from your daughter's high school, and he was mortified. And
Wow.
it was close to home. His daughter was in high school with the girl who actually was trafficked, and I know her, and she was trafficked for multiple years, taken across states, and then in the end her family had to send her away to another state once they had rescued her. Because this is about reprogramming the brain, because traffickers take these women and children and they say, you're worth nothing, no one cares, you don't have a voice. They take away every means that they have of feeling empowered, strip them down, brand them, which is what you see in the movie Sound of Freedom, but it's actually much worse. And Sound of Freedom is great as a conversational piece to start talking about it,
Right.
but it's talking about international, when really what we need to talk about here, especially in the U.S., is that this is a domestic issue as much as it is international. So
a couple of things that I got out of what you were saying. One, a small step or a small interruption in one of these transactions that could be transpiring goes a really long way. And then another thing that I heard was that your CEO was very amenable to doing something, especially when he heard about that person in there, versus that political figure that you guys approached to come and talk to your group, who said, there's no human trafficking in this county, which blows my mind.
And it wasn't even true.
Yeah, of course.
It wasn't even true
because it exists everywhere.
Yes.
And people turn a blind eye to it. I'm sure what has to happen if you're involved in it, even as a consumer, a lower level consumer, is you're in denial. You have to be in, denial about it. And so, that's one of the things that this raising awareness is going to be the antidote for.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can do it. I can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Your kids can do it. My kids, my daughter actually, as one of her assignments in 5th grade, she wrote a letter to Congress about it.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, even if we're just having these conversations with our kids at an age appropriate level, number one, because we have to educate them, because they're the targets.
Yeah.
Even someone told me that through the Bible app, their kid was being groomed. Because, I mean, oh my God, parents aren't even thinking about that, because who would even know that there's a messaging function through that?
Yeah.
I mean, Roblox, which a lot of kids, my kids play, we had to disable the communications piece, but you never know. These are our kids that we're talking about, our most prized possession. And kids, grandkids,
And that was one of the things we talked about way back at the beginning. Way back at the beginning, a couple years ago, is that social media is a very big way that they target children and get them into it.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to post links, and we hope that this has been informative
Yep.
as well as inspirational, and it'll spur everybody to do something because we all can.
Take one step.
Absolutely.